Pretty much everybody knows about High Point. Not only are they super affordable, but they're known as being fairly reliable as well. But if you don't want the big bulky brick of a High Point and you want to spend a little bit more money, there are some options out there that you can get that not only look better than the High Point, but that will function and be incredible self-defense tools. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, I tried to keep this list under 400 bucks, but what I will give you are some guns that are double to single action, some striker fired, some more compact to full size, and some that might be used for concealed carry as well. And so no matter what kind of gun you're looking for, as far as a pistol, if you're on a budget, this list might be for you. So if you like what I do here, consider subscribing. Let's go and get into it. The first one I want to start with is Canik, specifically the TP9 SF Elite. I've had this gun for, I don't know, going on 6 years, maybe more at this point, and it has been a really reliable and pretty tough gun at the same time. One thing that really impresses me is the tungsten gray Cerakote that they actually have on this thing. It is almost impervious to pretty much anything. And like I said, for as long as I've had this, it hasn't been holstered a bunch. It's not a gun I can carry a whole lot, but at the same time, this thing has held up extremely well. Now, Canik guns are made in Turkey, and not only are they known for being, fairly affordable, but also giving you a good bang for your buck. You'll get this entire pistol case with, a cheaper holster, maybe a mag loader, a couple of mags, cleaning rod, brush. I mean, they really do give you a great value. TP9 SF Elite also has an amazing trigger in this thing. It really is. When it comes to striker fire triggers, it is one of the best. They also have some indexing pads right here. That's before the takedown notches, okay? Really nice grip texturing on the gun, 15 rounds. I think this one actually came with two 15-round mags. Magazine release works as it should. Warren tactical sights, so you have that fiber optic there in the front. And you have front and rear slide serrations. Picatinny rail. And it's also ambidextrous. So if you're a left or right-handed shooter, you can utilize this gun. Slide stop works really good. So if you want to use it as a stop or as a release, you can do that. Now, these aren't optics ready or anything like that, but typically that's going to be an extra cost because they have to mill it out and all that kind of stuff. So if you don't care about that and you want a gun that is super reliable and is going to give you a really good value as far as the things you get with the gun, Canik is not a terrible option at all. They're actually a really good option for the most part, and the TP9 SF Elite has been one of those guns when it comes to the way it fires, the things you get, and the quality of the gun really is pretty much unmatched. Now, speaking of really good triggers and striker fire guns, there's no way I would make this list without putting the CZ P10 series on there. This was CZ's first striker fire gun. By the way, this is not the first CZ inspired gun that you will see on this list. I have become, I don't know, somewhat of a fanboy of CZ after shooting the Bren 2 MS and after shooting the Scorpion 3 Plus carbine, having the Shadow 2 and the P10 series. Yeah, I am definitely a fan, and I understand why these things are so loved by so many. But the P10 series is a striker fired polymer frame gun. You're going to get a really nice set of sights. They're more kind of low profile than some of the others. They do have optics ready versions, but again, those are going to be a little bit more money. This one specifically has a nice white dot in the rear, orange dot in the front with those tritium inserts. Now, unlike some of the other CZs where their claim to fame is the slide will ride on the inside of the rails, this one is more like a traditional CZ. It rides on top. But what you get is that super low bore axis and a gun that points really naturally. Now, you do have a single slot rail like a Glock, breaks down like a Glock, squared off trigger guard. You do have backstrap options with these. Magazine release has been redesigned over time. When these first came out, the magazine release was really tough. It would kind of loosen up over time, but they've redesigned it. Full-time ambidextrous, so no matter if you're a left or right-handed shooter, you can definitely utilize this gun. Now, I'd like to see an update on the P10 series altogether, just something new and a little bit different with them. But one thing I'll say is like your full size, your more compact 15-round gun like this, and the subcompact that they had, which was the S, are all really just fantastic guns with amazing triggers. I mean, really one of the best striker fire triggers that you can get. very little take up. You get to the wall, boom, it breaks, reset, just amazing. Their M series though, their micro CZ P10, I would really like to see an update on that one because it has an atrocious trigger. I don't know what happened there. Somebody just kind of got bored and said, hey, we ran out of regular P10 triggers, so we got to switch. I don't know what happened, but I'd love to see an update with this lineup and, you know, have like a 10 round or a 12 round version of that M with a much better trigger. But the rest of the guns in the lineup, the F, the C, and the S, are all really fantastic guns. Depending upon the size you're looking for, you cannot go wrong with the CZ-P10 series. Now, one of the biggest surprises I've ever had while reviewing guns is the M&P Shield EZ. I actually flew up to Smith & Wesson back in 2019 to see the, first guns and shoot the first guns that they had. And when they first announced this gun, I was like, what are they doing? They already have the Shield. I mean, it's well established. This one is, a little bit bigger and it has a grip safety, and I just don't understand. And I was way off about my assumption because the Shield EZ has been an amazing seller for Smith & Wesson. And the reason is because it's all in the name. It's easy to rack. It's easy to load. It's easy to shoot this gun. And so it has been one of the guns that I recommend the most, especially for new shooters. Anybody with arthritis, anybody that's a little bit older, anybody that has trouble with a traditional semi-auto gun can rack this gun and really utilize it and be able to feel confident in that semi-auto. And so this gun has been fantastic. It's been a fantastic option for all of those reasons. And they are relatively low price. Now this one is actually the Performance Center. So it has the fiber optic front sights. It actually has a ported barrel. So it's a little bit tricked out compared to some of the others. But I actually recently held one in Allied Arms, and it was one of the 380 EZs. And that one's actually a little bit smaller, but it still is bigger than most of the 380s out there on the market. So it still offers a really shootable platform, and it retains that super easy to charge slide. Internal hammer. So it is a hammer fired gun, but the trigger pull, once you get to the wall, a little bit of take up and it breaks. It really is fantastic. Now, one thing about the Shield EZ is the capacity. You have 8 rounds in the mag. So whereas some of your, your Shield Plus or your FN Reflex, your P365, they're all 10 and 12 round guns. This one is a little light in capacity, but it has that easy to load system as well. If you want to spend a little bit more, and typically they're going to go over $400, the Equalizer is the update to the EZ series. They're optics ready. They have really good triggers in them. They're also super easy to rack, and all of that. So a little bit more, but they do take the Shield Plus mag, so you have a little bit more capacity, and they're no bigger than the EZ series. So that's an option for you if you want to go with something a little higher capacity. But either way, the Shield EZ, no matter if it's the 9 or the 380, is a fantastic option for almost everybody because of how easy it is to manipulate, shoot, and use this gun. Now, I just talked about how huge of a fan I am of CZ, and their CZ75 is one of the most popular and copied guns in the world, and SAR has done a really good job with their copy. Now, typically I'd say go with the CZ75 and just get the original, but they're going to be a little bit more money. And so if you want to save some money, but you still want the benefits of the CZ75, the SARS Lamaz 2000 has been a really good gun. It retains the same feature as far as the low bore axis, because again, that slide rides on the inside of the rails. So it keeps, you got a really small slide. You can tell how small this slide is compared to some of your other traditional pistols, even the CZ-P10. But that offers the benefit of having really low felt recoil, really low muzzle rise, and you can get your hand high up on the gun. So it helps you to better control it. Now, this is a double to single action, so the first trigger pull is going to be a little bit long. It's not too bad, though. And then, of course, you have that single action pull, which is going to be great. If you've ever felt like a tuned CZ single action trigger, they are some of the best triggers out there. Even with that old school curved design, you can really just get incredible groups with these guns. This one does have a crowned barrel, it's forged steel throughout, and then it does have a firing pin block and the hammer block there. So it's a safe gun to carry as well. You have the safety on the left hand side of the gun, and then of course the slide stop and takedown latch is all in one. Magazine release works as it should, has these rubberized grips on the side, so it has a good feel in the hand. Of course, you have the exposed back strap right here and front strap as well. Decent set of sights on them, you know, they're not optics ready or anything like that, but it does have a decent set of sights. So if you want a really good CZ75 copy, the SAR 2000 has been one of the more impressive and surprising guns that I've reviewed this year that you can get at a really good price. Next pistol I want to talk about is literally just like your basic standard handgun, but it does a lot of things really well. That is the Ruger Security 9. Now, I don't have one of these guns, but I saw it in the gun shop the other day, and it's kind of what inspired this video, because at $250, $300, these things are fantastic, and they give you everything you need, nothing you don't. Ruger is one of the most respected companies in the United States, and so on this pistol specifically, it has an internal hammer, and so you're going to get a fairly light slide pull, right? So if you have some dexterity issues in your hands, boom, there you go. You can utilize this gun fairly well. 215 round mags, so it's going to be about the same size as your Glock 19 and even your CZ P10. You have standard white dot sights. They kind of have that ramp style on them. Trigger blade safety, loaded chamber indicator, and it has a manual safety too. And so if you are, you know, maybe nervous about carrying with one in the chamber, and you know, a lot of newer shooters typically want a gun with the safety, and these do come with that. And so, like I said, man, Ruger, really highly respected, and this gun, there's not a lot to it, but I mean, you do have front and rear slide serrations and an overall gun that feels really good in the hand. They have pretty much nailed down their slide texturing. I also like this gun more than I do the Ruger American pistol, which just has like a blocky feel in the hand. I reviewed that gun, my goodness, like 7 years ago or something at this point. I may be totally off on my numbers, but it feels like I reviewed that pistol a long time ago. And I like the Security 9 as far as the way it feels and all of that stuff better than the Ruger American. And the Ruger American pistol is actually more expensive typically. So the Ruger Security 9, if you want that gun that is going to be just a little bit more than a High Point, but one of the most respected brands in America, and most importantly, one of the more reliable handguns, the Ruger Security 9 is where it's at. Next one I want to talk about is your standard M&P 9. Not the Spec series, this is more of a tricked out option, but the standard M&P 9 is really a fantastic gun. So if you're looking at a Glock 19 size, the M&P 9 is where it's at. Now, a lot of people kind of relate, oh, Smith & Wesson or Glock. When it comes to my opinion, if you're not familiar with me, I'll take Smith & Wesson all day. They point more natural than a Glock. They have a much better feel in the hand. They're not so blocky, interchangeable palm swells, and they point much more naturally than a Glock. Standard set of sights on those guns are fantastic. Front and rear slide serrations, Picatinny rail, and they've updated for the M2.0 series. You have that hinged design, but that hinged trigger was actually really much improved over the original M&Ps. Since then, they've gone to the flat face trigger, which is even better. But at the same time, your M&Ps, you can get these things, especially on the used market, for really solid deals. Everything is placed perfectly on these guns. In your full size, you have the ambidextrous slide stop on them, so if you're left or right-handed shooter. Now, some of them come optics ready, some of them don't, so you're going to have like your Core series, your Spec series, you know, anything from the Performance Center is going to be a little bit more. But just the standard M&P M2.0 is a fantastic gun and has been for a number of years. And so I really love what Smith & Wesson does, lifetime warranty, fully American brand. And so I really appreciate what they do and offering people a really awesome, solid pistol at a fair price. Now, the last guns I want to talk about here, the Taurus G3, the GX4, the GX4 XL, the G2C, all from Taurus have been really reliable. Now, there is a recall on the GX4 that came out earlier this year, and my pistols weren't affected. But what I will say, for the most part, it looks like they're taking care of the issue, whatever the issue may be there. Front and rear slide serrations on the G3, Picatinny rail. You have really low profile sights, so even lower, I feel, than what you get on the CZP-10. But overall, I mean, this gun has been really solid. Magazine release works really good. You get two 15-round mags in the G3 specifically. Grip texturing is nearly perfect, and it has a decent trigger in it. And so overall, the gun shoots just as good as it should. It's kind of like the Security 9 in a way. There's no frills, there's no, nothing super exciting about it, but it's a tool used to potentially save your life and protect your family. It's got a manual safety, right? So if that's something that concerns you, you can obviously, have that as well. The slide finish on it is kind of one of those areas where I start to see the more budget side of it, because it does not hold up nearly as well as some of these others that I've showed you, but at the same time it does a good job. Now it does have restrike capability, but typically this isn't something that you're going to use. So essentially, let's say you fire the round, it doesn't go off for whatever reason, light primer strike or the ammo itself, whatever, you can actually keep pulling the trigger, kind of like a revolver. But this isn't something that's typically taught. And so I guess it depends on what happens in a self-defense situation where things just happen in an instant. Maybe you keep pulling the trigger and that's a good thing, or maybe you divert to your training, which is going to tell you to, tap, rack, boom, and get that round out and get a new one in. Whatever the case may be, it still has that ability to restrike. So even though I would like to think that I'm going to tap, rack, get that round out and, stay on target, that doesn't mean that's necessarily going to translate to a self-defense situation. You may just keep pulling the trigger, and that is a feature that could potentially be useful to you. So on that front too, it could be useful. I'll just say that. Overall though, Taurus has impressed me. Since I reviewed that G2C a few years ago, the GX4, the XL, the G3 have all been solid, reliable guns, and you can get them at a really good price. So hopefully this video helps you. If you're looking at guns that are not quite high points, a little bit better than that, and you want to spend just a little bit more money, you see how many different options, and I haven't really even scratched the surface on some of these other guns. And so I tried to give you the best list possible. Some concealed carry options, some more, more of the more compact and full-size guns, home defense, guns you can train on, all that kind of stuff. But overall, you don't have to go with a high point if you don't want to. These are quality options from a lot of quality brands that you can get at a budget. I'd love to hear your opinion. What is the best budget guns that you know of or that you have personal experience with? Love to hear that down below. If you want to leave your own list down below, I may use some of those in a part 2 to this video. Big thanks to you guys for watching. If you want to support us further, you can actually do that on Patreon, or you can join the channel right here on YouTube and never have to leave the site. Big thanks for watching. See you in the next one. And as always, hold them down.